Alright, so good afternoon. How are you doing today?
Good, how are you?
Alright, so let's start with the questions that we had at the end of class last time. So here I'm mentioning the best way of the starting. Alcohol is going to be traveling to the brain and any other organ, but I'm just going to go with the brain now. So it's going to go to the anterior part of the brain. That's why it's going to be affecting the cognitive ability. So because it affects my prefrontal cortex, the anterior part of the frontal lobe of the brain. So you're going to the anterior part of the brain. Prefrontal cortex. That's why judgment can be affected under the effect of that. Then what's going to happen next? The alcohol will keep secreting, and part of it will be, if it's not metabolized in the liver, it's going to be filtered in the kidney. So we are tracking here the alcohol that's going to be filtered in my kidney, and we didn't mention whether it's coming from the right or left kidney. It doesn't matter. Right? So you're going to be choosing either side. Alright, so here I'm not asking to mention the pathway of the alcohol, I'm asking to mention the pathway of the alcohol through the veins, arteries, chambers of the heart, and valves. So you are only mentioning the vessels, chambers, and valves that this alcohol is going to be passing over. I don't want you to mention oral cavity, pharynx, larynx, not larynx, it's going to be mentioned esophagus, stomach, and so on. Alright, so we don't, this is not under the scope of this chapter. Alright? So, anything is going to be absorbed, mainly in my, what part of the gastrointestinal tract is going to be in my small intestine. So small intestine, this is where you're going to be absorbing most of this alcohol. So it's going to travel to the vein that drains the small intestine, which is my superior mesenteric vein. And remember, all the abdominal organs are going to be drained into the liver through the common, through the hepatic portal vein. So superior mesenteric drains into my hepatic portal vein that will conduct the alcohol to the liver cells. So I will be traveling here from superior mesenteric vein into my hepatic portal vein. And then if you remember, the liver will be drained by another vein into my inferior vena cava. This is my, can you remind me? What vein drains the liver out in the inferior vena cava? This is my this is hepatic portal, and the other one was my
Hepatic vein.
Hepatic vein, or another name, hepatic, or common hepatic vein. Common hepatic vein. Alright, so you start here, superior mesenteric, hepatic portal, liver, liver out into the common hepatic vein. And remember, the liver is going to be draining common hepatic vein into my inferior vena cava. Inferior vena cava travels up to be drained into my right atrium. So you're going to be traveling 5. This is my inferior vena cava. Drains into right atrium. Then I will pass through this valve here. This is my tricuspid. Going down to my right ventricle to be pumped out into the pulmonary trunk, traveling through my pulmonary semilunar valve. Next is going to be my pulmonary trunk. Pulmonary trunk will deliver the blood to your lungs, so choose any side. And then lungs going to be drained by the pulmonary veins. Into my left atrium. So you see here, anybody is confused so far? Anybody's confused? All right. So you started from small intestine. I started from small intestine. This is where you absorb the stuff. So after you pass from the small intestine, you're going to be directly passing into the venous. You don't go to the arteries. You don't go to the arteries. When you allow absorption to take place, you're going to be passing the stuff that you are absorbing into the vein. So what is the vein that drains my small intestine? Superior mesenteric. Drains the blood from the small intestine into my hepatic portal. So this is where all the abdominal organs are going to be drained into the liver. Except for major exception here is going to be my kidney. Right, but we are concerned only about this now. So superior mesenteric drains into common hepatic portal. Hepatic portal will allow the alcohol to travel in between the cells of the liver. The liver cells will be metabolizing this alcohol. That's why one of the first organs to be affected by chronic alcohol consumption is going to be the liver. Because all the amount of alcohol gonna travel and will directly affect or harm the liver cells. And then this alcohol is going to be drained out of the liver through my common hepatic vein, where it drains. Inferior vena cava. So you see on here, I will drain into inferior vena cava. But here I'm traveling up in the abdomen, and then up in the chest, and then inferior vena cava drains into my right atrium. So right atrium, you're going to travel down
through the tricuspid valve,
tricuspid, right ventricle, pulmonary valve, pulmonary trunk, lungs, and then lungs will be drained through pulmonary veins to be conducted to your left atrium, passing through the mitral valve. All right, thank you. 13. All right, 13 here. 14 mitral valve, and then we'll be passing down from the mitral through the mitral valve into my left ventricle to be pumped out through the aortic semilunar valve into my aorta. Congratulations, you are getting into the arteries.
So is it like pulmonary veins, or would it be like left?
What? So I won't be taking off any points on the test if you just leave it non-specific for this. So you don't, if you choose to say, for example, you did take the pulmonary artery, right pulmonary artery, and you go to the right pulmonary, right lung, then you're gonna be drained through right pulmonary veins. Or you can just leave it general. You can say pulmonary trunk, you go to the lungs and then drain through pulmonary veins. You might leave it general like this, or you might be specific and choose one of the lungs to go to. Right? Whatever you choose. Alright? So it's not gonna make any difference for us. As far as you are able to tell that the lungs are drained through pulmonary veins, it doesn't matter which side you choose, right or left. Whenever you have multiple pathways that you can trouble in, only one is required to be mentioned. So like what we're going to see right now, we're going to have many pathways in order to trouble to the brain. So remember, the first part of the aorta, what do we call it? Ascending aorta. Ascending aorta. So ascending aorta here, this would be my number 17. Alright. Now it will start to get complicated. Alright, so I'm passing from the ascending aorta into my aortic arch. So next is going to be aortic arch. How to get to my brain? Anterior part of the brain. How do you think?
You take the left common carotid, or you can go brachiocephalic.
You can go through brachiocephalic trunk. You can go through your left common carotid, and you can go through your left subclavian. And from the brachiocephalic, you can go either through your right common carotid, or you can go through the right subclavian. On the test, you are only expected to go through one of the different pathways. All right? You don't have to mention all the pathways that are possible. Let's check how they will be. So you're going to be, so each one I would be putting, so let's say I will go through here, brachiocephalic. So here, brachiocephalic. Brachiocephalic artery. I have two pathways coming from the brachiocephalic. Either I take right common carotid artery or right subclavian artery. Alright? If I choose to take right common carotid, so you need to pass through the right internal carotid artery. From the right internal carotid artery, I will pass to circle of Willis. Coming out of the circle of Willis, in order to reach the anterior part, the prefrontal cortex, you're going to need to travel through the anterior cerebral artery. This is what I want to reach. Anterior cerebral artery. Let's take another path. So brachiocephalic, I will go through right subclavian artery. Here, right subclavian. How will I get to the circle of Willis from the right subclavian? Anybody has an idea? Vertebral. I will go right vertebral artery. Exactly. And then right vertebral will become basilar artery. And then basilar artery will be sharing his information of my circle of Willis. Coming out of the circle of Willis, you're going to be conducting the blood to the anterior cerebral artery to supply the anterior part of the brain. You might take the same left common carotid, left subclavian. So if you take left common carotid, you're going to pass left internal carotid and left internal carotid will conduct the blood to the circle of Willis. Coming out of the circle of Willis, you're going to reach the anterior cerebral cortex through the anterior cerebral artery. If I am going through here, left subclavian artery, left subclavian artery. If you choose to pass here from the aortic arch to the left subclavian artery, you're going to need to travel to left vertebral artery. And then from left vertebral artery, I will need basilar artery. I will pass through the basilar artery and I will end up within the circle of Willis, coming out from the circle of Willis to reach my anterior cerebral cortex through the anterior cerebral artery. Now, congratulations, you lost your cognitive ability.
Alright, so could you explain? Alright.
So let me repeat the circle of Willis. If you're not sure where did I get this from. So what we mentioned last time. So you've got subclavian, right subclavian, left subclavian. And from the subclavian arteries, you're going to have branches coming up. They're like this. Branches coming up. That will be traveling in the vertebral foramina of the cervical vertebrae. And as they reach the base of the brain, they will fuse together, forming basilar artery. The basilar artery will be forming with two internal carotids. Where did I get the internal carotids from? Each common carotid that I've got will be divided into two branches. One that goes to the inside of the skull, those are my internal carotids, and one that will travel to the outside to supply the patient's scalp. So those two on here, those are my internal carotid arteries. Internal carotid arteries will share with the basilar artery to form the circle of Willis, like this. And then you're going to start to distribute the blood to the different parts of the brain from the circle of Willis. So you're going to be conducting the blood forward to the anterior part, here through anterior cerebral artery. Here, middle cerebral artery, here, posterior cerebral artery. So where are you going? In this question, you are going to the anterior part of the brain. So you're going to be conducting the blood to the anterior cerebral artery. But how can I get to the circle of Willis to reach the anterior cerebral artery? You have all those options. You either take this one, and then this one, or you take this one, and then this one. So you either go through right subclavian, right common carotid, or you take left common carotid, left subclavian. Whatever way, all will end up reaching the circle of Willis. Right? Alright?
Since the left common carotid only has two steps, isn't it just easier to do that?
Whatever you're comfortable with. So whatever you choose. As far as you reach your the anterior part of the brain, this will be. Alright, so reaches the brain. How would you get out of the brain? So I did reach the brain. Now I need to move this alcohol out of the brain. Remember? This part, this will be located above your cerebral cortex. Your superior sagittal sinus. Superior sagittal sinus is going to be drained into transverse sinus. And then from the transverse, you're going to flip it like this. This would be called my sigmoid sinus. Sigmoid will travel down. This is my internal jugular vein. Internal jugular vein, if you remember, will drain into my, see, it's going to meet with other two vessels I'm not concerned with. Internal jugular vein drains into my brachiocephalic vein. Again, you can't keep it general, just brachiocephalic, or you can choose one of the sides. You can keep moving on the right side or the left side, whatever you prefer. So you see here, internal jugular vein, you're going to conduct the blood down to the brachiocephalic vein. Brachiocephalic drains into my superior vena cava. Superior vena cava drains into my right atrium. Right atrium drains into my right ventricle. Right ventricle will be pumping the blood. I will repeat everything in here again.
Will we be covered off if we don't include the valves?
Yes. Yes. Every time you're going to be passing from one chamber to the other, from one chamber to a vessel, you need to mention the name of the valves that you're going to be passing through. Actually, this is the secure part of the question. All right. So I usually give points because this is the part that all of you will know. All right. So, back again. If you want to reach an artery from a vein, you need to get back to the heart to be pumped out to the lungs, and then from the lungs back to the heart to be pumped to the artery that you're trying to reach. So I need to pass through the heart and lungs every time I'm moving from a vein to an artery. I cannot go back. Every time you're trying to move from a vein to an artery, you need to get back to the heart and then to be pumped out of the heart into the arterial system. Alright? So, where are you going? You are going to the kidney. Alright, so you're going to be passing again, pulmonary trunk. Then the lungs, then the pulmonary veins, then my left atrium, mitral valve, left ventricle, ascending aorta passing through my aortic semilunar valve.
Which aorta is it? Descending or ascending?
Ascending first. After you get to the ascending aorta, you're going to need to pass through the aortic arch. And then descending, which will become abdominal. And abdominal aorta going to be traveling down. And I will be supplying the kidney directly with my renal artery. You either keep it general or you be more specific and mention one side to go through. So I will get to the kidney through the renal artery. Now I did supply the kidney with the blood that carries up this alcohol. The alcohol will be filtered partially by the kidney into the urine. So now, congratulations, you did get rid of the remaining part of the alcohol.
So when we're at the inferior cerebral artery, we go straight to the
Superior sagittal, yeah, you go to the brain. This one is the first stop, prefrontal cortex. And then from the brain, you're going to be drained through the vein, superior sagittal sinus. Then transverse sinus, sigmoid sinus, internal jugular vein. Then brachiocephalic vein, superior vena cava, right atrium, right ventricle, pulmonary trunk, lungs, back to the left atrium, left ventricle, ascending aorta, arch, descending abdominal, renal artery, then will be filtered in the kidney. Alright, so on the test, if I get you something like this on the test, at least it's going to be out of 20 points. Alright, at least it's going to be out of 20 points.
Will it be completely filled, or will there be some?
So there will be partial credit. Alright? If you miss, so for example, if I counted here's a number of things I will be passing through, let's say there will be around 40 vessel wine chamber and something. So let's say it's counted out of 20. So each time you're gonna be missing 2, I will be taking off 1 point and so on. Alright?
So after it passes through the aortic semi-renal valve, then we would say it goes straight to the ascending aortic shock. We don't say it goes to the aorta.
Yeah, but because the aorta is all this. So ascending, arch, descending, abdominal, all this is my aorta. But we need to be more specific. So rather than saying aorta and then ascending, actually ascending is part of the aorta. And this is the first one. You don't have to put aorta and then ascending. Just directly go descending aorta, arch, descending abdominal. Alright? Any questions? This is moderately advanced. Question? Yes.
So on the test, they'll basically say, go from the small intestine to the kidney and we'll just write out all the steps. Or whatever.
If you want to use it from your
Y'all with the iPhone, send them the
You take that picture?
I've got it on video too.
You'll send it to them?
I will be doing just
Because you probably have better picture than mine.
As soon as everybody gets their heads out of the way.
yes, you can be wrong. If you would like, you can go on the silhouettes that I will be providing. But actually, I hope this will not be great.
It's on the YouTube videos too.
On YouTube.
I'll have it. It'll be on the video that I post.
You post it?
Go to The-Wannabe Doctor.
Sigmoid cooler. This is part of the large intestine. Here,
Okay.
here.
Just go to it and then I'll find you.
Yep.
All right.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Here, I'll show you. Hold on.
Why did I call the sigmoid cooler sigmoid? Because it has this acid. Here I have another shaking thing, but it's totally different. It's a vein, it's just veins. practice this now, before we start on a new topic. So can you go from the right renal vein to the left renal artery? So something easy to practice. For you to not get depressed. Alright, so again, here we're going from the right renal vein to the left renal artery. Right renal vein to left renal artery. Right renal vein to left renal artery. Again, mention the vessels that you're going to be passing through. Mention the chambers and the valves as well. Anyone still needs this here on the board? Anyone needs it? So again, we are trying another practice question. We are stating the vessels that we're going to be passing through, starting from right renal vein, reaching the left renal artery.
But
Every time, ask yourself, what is my next stop? My next stop. One vessel at a time. One vessel at a time. Give you 4 more minutes. Difficult questions on so on this you're going to have all of them. Because this is 100 points. You're going to have a lot of questions on this. I would consider this as a very basic level. This is the easiest that I can get you. do all this together. So we're starting from left cranial, right cranial vein, right cranial vein. So remember, kidneys are draining directly into the inferior vena. So cranial vein here, right cranial vein. Right cranial vein goes into my inferior vena cava, travels up my right atrium, right ventricle, pulmonary trunk, to go to my lungs, back of the lungs through the pulmonary veins. Pulmonary veins hook conduct the blood to my left atrium, left ventricle passing through the mitral valve, left ventricle to the ascending aorta is going to be through the aortic valve, to go ascending arch, descending abdominal, and you're passing through the diaphragm. This will be my abdominal aorta, and my left kidney will be supplied by the left renal artery, direct branch from the abdominal aorta.
Mitral valve, is it after the left ventricle or before it?
Before that. So you pass from the left atrium to the left ventricle. Mitral valve is an AV valve. Atrium is pregnant. Means the atria and the ventricle. So mitral valve will allow the blood to move down from the atria to the ventricle. Left atrium to the left ventricle. And then at the base of the aorta, you're going to have aortic semilunar valve. So you're allowing the blood to travel out from the left ventricle to the aorta, passing through the aortic semilunar valve. Right? Questions? So very, very important to keep practicing. Choose any two vessels and try to move from one to the other. Randomly. Try to repeat this as many times as you want, as you can, for you to get familiar with the process. Alright? But all of them will be working in the same way. Alright? So let me go over those vessels in the diagrams that we have in our textbook. So this is actually how the diagrams will look like for you on your exam. Those are the diagrams that I will be using on your lab course. So if we look at here, coming out of the left ventricle, we can see here ascending aorta, aortic arch, descending aorta. Those are names that we're going to use for descending aorta as it travels through the thoracic cavities and my thoracic aorta. Right? Good. Alright, so looking again here, ascending arch, descending, and again we're going to pull the part of the descending aorta that travels in the thoracic cavity, my thoracic aorta. See on here, on the right side, we're going to have a branch coming around from the arch. This is mine. Brachiocephalic trunk. Brachiocephalic trunk divides into right common carotid and subclavian. Right subclavian and right common carotid. Other branches that comes from the arch. You're gonna have left common carotid and left subclavian. What's gonna happen to the subclavian? Troubles in the armpits will be called my axillary Those are my radial and ulnar trunk. All the other vessels that you can see on the diagram are not going to be tested on your lab. Only the ones with covered. Alright?
Is the only one with?
Only the ones that we've covered.
Okay.
Alright? I believe you have on blackboard those diagrams
And they're highlighted.
and they are highlighted. The ones that we've covered are highlighted. Alright? Moving down. The aorta is traveling through the diaphragm into the abdomen. So this is now my abdominal aorta. The abdominal aorta is gonna give a branch. This is mine. Any idea? Celiac trunk. Celiac trunk will give rise to a branch that travels to my liver. So this is my hepatic artery. We'll call it hepatic artery. Hepatic artery will call it hepatic artery. Here, another branch. This time is going to my spleen. Splenic artery. A branch that will share in the blood supply of my stomach. This is my left gastric. I did remove the stomach for me to see the other vessels. So this is how it's going to look like. So you're going to have a branch here that will be supplying. This will be supplying my intestine. But I did remove the stomach, the intestine, everything from here. So I did cut the vessel here that supplies my intestine. This is my superior mesenteric. And I'm looking now at direct branches from the abdominal aorta below the superior mesenteric. Those are going to my kidneys, right and left. Those are my right renal artery and left renal artery. Below the renal artery, you're going to have another major vessel that will be supplying the remaining part of your large intestine, which is not supplied by the superior mesenteric arteries. This will be my inferior mesenteric. As you keep going down, abdominal aorta will give rise to two terminal branches. You don't have abdominal aorta anymore. What are the two terminal branches that you will rise in here? Those are my common iliac artery. You have right and left common iliac arteries. See up here, superior mesenteric is going to be supplying the proximal part of the large intestine. So I did remove all the small intestine to show you the part, the proximal part is going to be supplied by superior mesenteric, and the distal part is going to be supplied by the inferior mesenteric artery. Alright, this is the diagram that shows how both arteries are going to be supplying the large intestine. We don't need to know the branches of the superior and inferior mesenteric. Alright, so each one has many branches, as you see. Question? Please. You see here, inferior mesenteric is going to be going supply all this remaining part of the large intestine, the distal portion of the large intestine, compared to those are branches from the superior mesenteric artery. So I'm supplying the proximal part, my superior, distal part with my inferior mesenteric artery. Moving on to the blood supply of the lower limb, you see here, this is my abdominal aorta. Abdominal aorta will divide into two terminal branches. Those are my common iliac arteries. Common iliac will give rise to a branch that will pass to the inside of my pelvis. This is my internal iliac. You see here how thin is the internal iliac compared to the external iliac. The most common wrong answer on the test is going to be, you consider this as right, for example, right common iliac. And in part the name, line here. I'm passing in the midline. If you're passing in the midline, this is your abdominal aorta. This almost half of the class will answer this wrong on the test. So again, what is this vessel? Abdominal aorta. This one?
Common iliac aorta.
This thin vessel is my internal. The continuation of the common iliac here, before I pass below the ligament, is going to be external iliac. After I pass into the thigh, below the inguinal ligament, this will be femoral artery. Femoral artery travels to the posterior aspect of the knee. This is called my popliteal artery. Popliteal artery divides into an anterior branch that travels on the anterior aspect of the leg, and the posterior branch in here. So what do we call the anterior one? Anterior. The posterior one is my posterior anterior. Continuation of the anterior tibial artery is going to be dorsalis tibialis. What can I see on here? This is the branch that comes out of the arm. This is my brachiocephalic trunk. Brachiocephalic trunk divides into common carotid and subclavian. Common carotid divides into one that travels to supply the face and scalp. This is mine. Common carotid divides into two branches. One supplies the face and scalp. This is mine. External carotid. And one that passes to the inside in here. You see the one that passes to the inside? Big one on here. This is mine. Internal. A branch that will be rising from the subclavian that travels in the vertebral foramina of my cervical vertebrae. Up. This is my vertebral. Alright? Look on here. I'm looking at the base of the brain. Vertebral artery. From the right and left side will form together my basilar artery. Basilar artery will form a connection that we call the circle of Willis with the internal, right and left internal carotids, which are branches from the common carotids. And coming out from the circle of Willis, you're going to form an anterior branch. This is mine. Anterior cerebral artery. Supplies the anterior part of the brain. One that travels to the posterior part. This is mine. Posterior cerebral. And one that would be traveling in between the anterior and the posterior. This would be my middle cerebral artery. Middle cerebral artery. So you've got anterior cerebral, middle cerebral, and posterior cerebral. To supply the different parts of the brain. Alright? How will I drain my face and scalp? Remember, your inside your brain is going to be drained through internal jugular. Face and scalp going to be drained through external jugular. We'll meet with the brain, with the subclavian vein, with the subclavian vein, and all this will be draining into my before I reach superior vena cava, I drain into my brachiocephalic vein. And then right and left brachiocephalic veins. Right and left brachiocephalic veins will drain into your superior vena cava to your right knee. Here. Venous drainage of the brain. Superior sagittal. Inferior sagittal. Drain into, they are connected by the straight sinus. Both will drain into the straight, and then the S-shaped part, what did we call it? By sigmoid. sigmoid sinus will drain into my internal jugular vein, which that you see connected to the external jugular vein with the subclavian to drain into my brachiocephalic vein. All right. Moving on to the venous drainage of the upper lung. You see on here, lateral aspect is going to be drained of the forearm is going to be drained by radial vein. Medial aspect, ulnar vein. Both will drain into my vein that travels up into the arm. This is my brachial vein. Brachial vein will travel past the armpit. This will be all my axillary vein. That will travel below the clavicle to become subclavian vein to meet with internal and external jugular veins to form my brachiocephalic. Right and left brachiocephalic drain into my superior larynx. This is for the deep structures. For superficial structures, you're going to have superficial veins draining those skin and my fascia. So on the lateral aspect, what is the superficial veins that we're going to have is going to be my cephalic. On the medial aspect, it's going to be my basilic drains into mine, goes up to mine.
Brachial vein.
Brachial. B with B. B with B. And then cephalic goes up to drain into mine. Exit. Alright? So again, basilic drains into brachial. Here, cephalic drains into the axillary, the part above the brain. The connection here, what do we call the connection between the basilic and cephalic? This would be my median vein, and this is the most common site that we're going to be using to get blood. What's going to happen here? How do I drain the abdominal organs? All of them are going to be drained into the liver, except for kidneys and others. But the main one that we're so concerned with is going to be the kidneys will be drained through right and left renal veins directly into the inferior vena cava. That will travel up to be drained into the right atrium and so on. For the remaining abdominal organs, you see on here gastric veins, splenic vein, superior, inferior mesenteric veins, all will drain into this common vein. This is my hepatic portal vein. Hepatic portal vein will be getting the blood to the inside of the liver for the liver to detoxify the toxins, to metabolize the fat, to metabolize the medications or the drugs. This blood will then be drained to the outside of the liver through my common hepatic vein. See on here, this is my hepatic vein that will drain into my inferior vena cava to reach my heart. Looking at the venous drainage of the lower lung, start with the dorsalis pedis vein on the dorsum of the foot, drains into my anterior tibial vein, that meets with the posterior tibial vein, draining into the veins that will be traveling on the posterior or dorsal aspect of the knee. This is my popliteal vein. Popliteal vein is going to be traveling to the anterior aspect of the thigh. As it moves on the thigh, this will be called my femoral vein. Femoral vein will be passing up below the ligament, inguinal ligament, to become my external iliac vein. External iliac vein will meet with another vein that is going to be draining my pelvic organs. This is my internal iliac vein. Both will drain into my common iliac vein. Right common iliac, left common iliac, both will fuse together to become my inferior vena cava that travels up from the abdomen, through the abdomen, up into my chest to be drained into my right. Right? I didn't want to start with the Zeus diagrams for you to not get confused. That's why I started by drawings to only focus with the ones that we are concerned with, and then start to use diagrams later on. So I don't recommend you to look at the diagrams, to start working on those diagrams until you are so familiar with the names of those vessels, you know exactly what you are looking for. Don't start from scratch looking at the diagrams. Keep practicing with the diagrams that you did draw together in class, and as you feel comfortable with the names of those vessels, start to look at those diagrams to not get confused, because not all those vessels are going to be we are concerned with. Alright? They won't be all on the test, only the ones that we mentioned.
So for clarification, all of the abdominal organs, they drain into the liver, and then it transfers from the liver to back to the superior vena cava through inferior vena cava through a hepatic vein.
Common hepatic.
Common hepatic.
So you drain. You see on here. So you've got mesenteric vein, inferior mesenteric vein, superior mesenteric vein.
Okay.
So I'm draining small intestine, large intestine, here.
Yes.
All will pass into my hepatic portal vein. Hepatic portal vein will be getting the blood to the inside of the liver to be filtered. And then you're going to collect all the blood from the liver through your common hepatic vein, which is actually right and left hepatic veins. So they will both fuse together. And most of the people, they both fuse together, and they will become one big vein called common hepatic. And some people will have, they will drain as two separate veins into the inferior vena cava. It's going to be varied from one person to the other. Alright? So they will be drains. That's why it's going to be different from one diagram, one textbook to the other. Alright? So they will drain the blood coming out, which has been filtered already, in the liver, into my inferior vena cava that drains the blood out. Alright? Answer your question?
So the test is going to be pretty similar to those diagrams?
Yeah, I will use those diagrams. Not those ones.
Yeah, but
Those ones.
they'll just be the ones that we follow.
Only the ones that we did cover. This is in the part where I will be asking to identify the vessels. Alright? Alright, we can have a break for 10. We'll come back and discuss elastic arteries. Elastic arteries will be branching, forming the muscular arteries, which will have a thick muscle layer, and those will be directly conducting the blood to the different organs. And that's why we're going to call them my distributing vessels, because this is the point where you're going to be distributing the blood to the different organs. Then, as I reach the different organs, those muscular arteries will divide into smaller arteries, and this is the smallest form of the artery. Those are my arterioles. Arterioles will conduct the blood now to the smallest form of vessels, which are going to be located inside the tissues of your organs. So those are microscopic. Those are my capillaries. And the capillaries, this is where I would be performing the exchange between the blood and my cells that build up my tissues. So here I will call the capillaries, those are my exchange vessels. Why do I call them exchange vessels? Because simply I will be delivering the oxygen, carrying away the carbon dioxide, I will deliver the nutrients, I will carry away wastes. This is where I will be performing the exchange with the organ cells. what's going to happen after you get this exchange done between your blood and your tissues? You're going to need to conduct the blood with low oxygen saturation back to your heart for it to be repumped to your lungs for it to become reoxygenated. So who will carry the blood now from your capillary beds back to the heart? This will be my veins. You start with small veins, the tiniest veins, those are called my venules. And then multiple venules will drain into a larger vein, small veins. And then the small veins will all form 3 major veins that will all drain into my right atrium. What are those 3 major veins that we do have? Superior vena cava, inferior vena cava, and my coronary sinus. So this will be the case for any organ. So we're gonna get the blood delivered to the organ tissue through arteries. We start with elastic. Again, what's the other names that we use for elastic? Conducting vessels. Next is going to be my vascular arteries. Then the smallest form of arteries, arterioles, that will be conducting the blood into the capillary beds, performing the exchange. After you perform the exchange, now the blood is becoming deoxygenated, draining the deoxygenated blood into very tiny venules, 2 veins, small veins, and then to the large veins, back to your heart. This will be the venous system. As we're gonna see, and we will learn why, we will call those large veins and small veins my capacitance vessels. We're gonna learn why later today. All right. So again, start with elastic arteries. Those are called conducting vessels. Vascular arteries. Those are my
Distributing vessels.
My arterioles. Those are what we're gonna call the resistance vessels. Resistance vessels. Capillaries are my exchange vessels, and the veins will be my capacitance vessels. All right, we're gonna learn why I give the other names to my arteries and veins, and we study the details for each one of them. So starting first with what's the difference, not in terms of function, but in terms of structure, between an artery and a vein. What do you think? Can you find any differences in the structure between the artery and the vein? Can you find any differences between an artery and a vein? Yeah, so what is narrow? The lumen of the artery is narrow compared to the vein. The vein has valve, which I don't have in my artery. What else? Internal
Oxygenated versus deoxygenated.
Oxygenated versus deoxygenated. Yeah, this will be the case for most of the arteries. They will carry oxygenated blood compared to most of the veins will carry deoxygenated blood. Yes. What else?
External elastic lamina.
The elastic
The
membrane.
Elastic lamina.
Yeah.
Elastic lamina. You're going to have many elastic tissue layers in your large arches, but you don't have in your veins. So you see on here, I have an extra layer of elastic connective tissue in my arteries. This is my internal elastic lamina, and I have another one outside. This is my external elastic lamina. I do have elastic tissue in my arteries, but I don't have in my veins. What else? Can you notice any other differences? Valve. I have valves and veins, yes. What else?
Smooth muscle and elastic.
Smooth muscles. Which one has a thicker muscle layer? Your artery or your vein? Arteries will have much more muscles. So you see on here, what I can see as the difference between the artery and a vein. In my arteries, I will have much more elastic connective tissue, much more muscles compared to the vein. The lumen of the artery will be smaller than the lumen in my veins. So lumen is the space inside. And you see here, this is much smaller than this one. So I have thicker wall, smaller lumen compared to the veins. Veins will have thinner wall and larger lumen.
What is a lumen?
The cavity inside lumen.
Oh.
The cavity inside the vessel. The cavity inside the vessel. All right. Another thing, you're gonna see that you're gonna have valves in the veins, but you don't have valves in your arteries. So looking at the main layers that will build up your vessels, looking from inside out. To the inside, you're gonna have tunica intima. If you have a close friend, what is the other word that we have used for close friend?
Intimate.
Intimate, close, near, inside. So the layer, tunica, inside the closed layer is going to be my tunica intima. But if I move in between, in the middle, it's going to be tunica media. Media means in between. So media, in between. So inside you have tunica intima. Middle, median. To the outside, external. So again, what are the three main layers that will form your vessels, your blood vessels? Whether arteries or veins. Inside you have tunica intima, media, and then external. Tunica external. Looking at the tunica intima, what's inside? First layer, lining the lumen of my arteries and veins, this will be epithelium. And can you remind me, what kind of epithelium should you have in your arteries and veins? What do you think? Do you think you will need to have one row of fat cells, one row of cuboidal cells, one row of cold cells? What kind of epithelium? Squamous, one row of flat cells, simple squamous, or do you want to have multiple cell layers?
Simple squamous.
Stratified squamous.
I'd have stratified squamous. Simple squamous.
What do you think? So this is my vessels, this is the lumen of the vessel.
Simple squamous.
And I'm allowing a lot of trouble in here. You're going to make that pattern.
Yes. Simple squamous.
So do you want to have something like this lining your vessel or something like this?
Yeah, simple squamous, yeah. No, I was wrong.
To allow minimum resistance. Which one do you think?
Simple.
Simple squamous epithelium. So the epithelial lining of my vessels, this will be my endothelium, and the endothelium is going to be one row of flat cells, simple squamous epithelium, to allow minimal resistance against the blood flow. You want the blood to flow smoothly without having any resistance. So one row of flat cells here will be lining my arteries and veins. In the tunica intima of the artery, you're going to have a layer of elastic tissue, elastic connective tissue, internal elastic level. But remember, below any epithelium, you're going to need to have areolar connective tissue. Why do I need to have areolar connective tissue below any epithelium?
So that oxygen can get into there.
Because epithelium is avascular, doesn't have vessels. So areolar has lots of space between the fibers. It will allow the diffusion of gases, it will allow the diffusion of nutrients up to my epithelium. So below the epithelium here, you're going to have a layer of connective tissue. What do we call it? The layer below the epithelium. So can you guess it?
Subendothelium.
All right, so again, what do we have? In the tunica intima, you have lining by epithelium. Below the epithelium, you have subendothelium. In the artery, you're going to have elastic connective tissue. Next is going to be my tunica media, and this is where I keep my muscles. What kind of muscles do you have in your arteries? What do you think? Skeletal muscles? Cardiac muscles? Smooth muscles? What do you think?
Smooth.
Smooth muscles. Smooth muscles. So you don't have any control. You don't have any voluntary control of your vessels. So for example, if you feel that you have a high blood pressure, you don't decide to relax your vessels, for example, to reduce your blood pressure.
Wish it was that easy.
Alright? So this is under involuntary control, and the only place where you're gonna have cardiac muscle tissue is gonna be in the walls of your heart. So this is a hollow organ, and any hollow organ will have smooth muscle tissue. Alright, so you're gonna see here, tunica media will have smooth muscle tissue and another layer of elastic fibers. On here will be located in my arteries. This will be my external elastic limb. And then to the outside, you're gonna have another layer of connective tissue and another layer of epithelium. This will be my tunica externe. So again, from inside out, tunica intima, tunica media, tunica externa. From inside, tunica intima, this will be endothelium, subendothelium. In the arteries, you're gonna have internal elastic lamina. Then muscle layer is gonna be much thicker in your arteries compared to your veins. You see on here, major difference is the presence of valves in your veins, which you don't have in your arteries. What we're going to see later. Alright, so moving on to the different types of arteries. So structural differences between the arteries. So what is blood pressure? What is blood pressure? You don't have this in your handout? You have those slides, right? Alright, so look on here. What is blood pressure? What is blood pressure? What do you think? Pressure? Blood pressure is the pressure of the blood. Alright? And how do I get a blood pressure? This is what we're going to be discussing for the next 3 classes. Alright? So, our main concern till the end of the vascular system is going to be blood pressure. Also in the kidney and fluids, the main concern is going to be blood pressure. So if you didn't get the basics today, you will be confused for the next month. Alright? Alright, so what is blood pressure? This is the pressure of the blood flow. Alright? So if I mention that this is the pressure of the blood flow, so this means I have blood moving. This is my first thing. And as the blood moves, it's going to be applying a pushing pressure, a pushing force to the wall of my vessels. And the vessel I'm concerned with here is going to be an artery. So I will be pushing the wall of my arteries by a certain pressure. So what creates this pressure? If I did have flow of blood, so I am allowing the blood to flow in the space. Would this blood apply any pressure? If you are pumping blood in the space,
Okay.
you go up in the space and you pump blood. Will it apply any pressure?
Yeah.
If you pump 10 million gallons of blood into space, will you apply any pressure on anything? No. So pressure is resistance. Flow against resistance. Exactly. If I don't have resistance, do I have pressure? No. If I don't have flow and I have the resistance, do I have pressure? No.
Yeah.
So if I'm not pushing this table down, all right? I don't have flow, but I have the resistance. I have the table. What is the amount of pressure I'm applying if I'm not pushing down? Nothing. No pressure. So in order to create a pressure, you need to have a flow and a resistance. So simply speaking, what is the blood pressure? Mean arterial pressure, the average of the blood pressure in the arteries. This would be the flow. And what is the flow of the blood? The amount of blood pumped per minute, cardiac output. Multiplied by that resistance created by all the vessels. This is called my total peripheral resistance. TPR is my total peripheral resistance. Everything is going to be mentioned later on. But I need to give you this introduction before I get to the details I want in here. So again, what is blood pressure? This is the pressure applied by the blood flow on the wall of my heart, or on the wall of my vessel. How will I create this pressure? By having flow that is phased by resistance. What creates the resistance is the vessel itself. So you have a blood flow. And what creates the resistance against this flow is the wall of my vessel. So do you have flow here? Yes. Do I have resistance? Yes. Which is the friction of the wall of the vessel to the blood flow. So I have flow, resistance, this gives me pressure. This is what we're going to call the blood pressure in the arteries. What do we mean by systolic blood pressure? What is systolic? What is systolic? During ventricular contraction. And what is diastolic? During ventricular relaxation. Am I pushing the blood when I contract my ventricles? Yes or no? When I contract my ventricles, what's going to happen? You are reducing the volume of the ventricle, and as you reduce the volume of the ventricle, what's going to happen to the pressure inside? Increases. And as you increase the pressure inside, what's going to happen? Blood flows from high pressure to low pressure, and they will open, the blood here will open my aortic synovial valve. We are mainly concerned here with the arteries, which are the branches from the aorta. Right, so I open aortic synovial valve, the blood flows out, and if I have blood flow, I have pressure. So I have a pressure. I can tell you I have a pressure during ventricular contraction. This is what we call again systolic blood flow. So we've got systolic, which is around 120 millimeter mercury. But if I am relaxing my ventricles, what's going to happen? What's going to happen when you relax your ventricles? Are you pushing blood out into the artery?
No.
Are you moving the blood backward to the ventricle?
No.
Yes or no?
No.
Tell me it's trying.
No.
Do you get the blood back?
No.
And the blood move back and forth?
No.
No. You're going to be blocking here. It's closed sigmoid valve, so the blood will not be returning back. But is it moving forwards?
Yes.
Is it moving when you relax your ventricle? Am I pushing the blood by the ventricle?
Oh, no.
Am I pushing blood? Am I pumping blood when I relax my ventricle?
No.
No. So will there be any movement of the blood?
No.
Will there be any blood flow?
No.
And if I don't have a blood flow, do I have a pressure?
No.
If I don't have flow, I have only resistance, would I have a pressure?
No.
So how come I'm saying that the pressure of the blood during ventricular relaxation, diastolic blood pressure is 80 millimeter mercury, and it's not zero. If I don't have flow, I won't have pressure.
It's because it's still moving from contraction.
By inertia. So you see on here, if I did push this chair like this, when I push it, it will keep moving on its own, and then it will stop by inertia. But this will not be applicable in the circulation. Why? Because you're facing a high resistance. You are passing through tiny capillaries, which will have a diameter that allows one cell to pass at a time. And you're reaching every single organ. So you have a huge resistance that is facing your flow. So I cannot say that once I push, the blood will keep moving on its own until I push again when I contract. So the blood will not be moving if I did rely on inertia. So what I see here, this reading tells me that I have pressure. And I know that I can never have pressure without blood flow. So this means I have blood flow. Am I pushing the blood from my ventricles when I relax? No. So who is pushing the blood when my ventricles are relaxed?
The atrium.
Atrium? Atria. So even if the atria are pushing blood, where they are pushing the blood? Are they pushing the blood into my artery?
No,
So they are allowing the blood to flow here, not here.
So when the
I'm concerned with the arteries.
okay.
I'm measuring the pressure in the artery. 120 over 80, this is the pressure in my artery. So during ventricular contraction 120, during ventricular relaxation, this is 80 millimeter mercury.
But then also when the ventricular relax on, I'm trying to remember which side of the heart, it brings back the 80% of the blood.
Yeah, you are getting the blood when you relax, you're getting the blood here, from the atria to the ventricle, but you're not pushing blood here. When I say my blood pressure is 120 over 80, it's in here, in my artery.
Is it the push of the blood trying to get back through the valve?
So this means it's going to be moving backward by a force of 80. So this means during ventricular contraction, you're going to get blood to your brain, but during ventricular relaxation, your brain is not getting blood. It's moving in the opposite direction by a force of 80 millimeter mercury.
I'm saying, what I was trying to say is that the other, so the blood is pushed out by the arteries, but on the other end of the veins, bringing it back to the other side of the blood.
You mean a
So
suction force from
right. Yes.
the right atrium, right?
Yes.
So you have the right atrium here. So you're saying that the right atrium has a pressure about 0 millimeter mercury. It creates a suction pressure to pull all the blood from your legs, from your toes, to get back to the heart, for the blood to keep moving forward in the opposite direction.
I'm just saying the pressure.
Well, are we able to?
I'm trying to ask some questions and figure it out.
Is the 80% towards your, towards your
Away.
body?
Still moving away. Yes.
So does it keep pushing or does it?
So my question, how are you moving? So I know that it's moving. Why is it moving? And who pushes the blood when my ventricles are relaxed?
Do your vessels contract?
My vessels contract. The vessels will constrict, but they won't contract. They will, other than contract, more accurate word, relax,
Dilate?
dilate, recoil.
That definitely is my innocence.
So when I contract my ventricles, what's going to happen? All the blood will be moving out. And because I have lots of elastic tissue in my elastic arteries, what's going to happen?
It's gonna
They will
expand.
expand. when you contract, you are expanding your arteries like this. And when you are relaxing your ventricles, what's going to happen to those arteries? They will recoil back to their sides. And when I recoil back, what happens? So volume inside the artery decreases. And when you decrease volume, what's going to happen? Pressure goes up. And as pressure goes up, blood is going to be moving from high pressure forward to low pressure because the other direction is blood. So who's going to be pushing the blood when my ventricles are relaxing is the large arteries, my elastic arteries. That's why I call them my conducting arteries. They will keep conducting the blood to my organs, whether my heart is contracting or relaxing.
Way to get us there.
All right?
You went around the world.
So again, I am here acting as a pressure reservoir. As if I am storing part of the pressure during ventricular relaxation, and I will use it later on when I relax my heart. Good? Good? So again, here, this is what I mean by acting as a pressure reservoir. So, elastic arteries will expand during ventricular contraction, and then during ventricular relaxation, they will recoil, pushing the blood forward. And this is what creates my diastolic blood pressure. All right. So again. The arteries will recoil because you're not pushing anymore, so they will not be expanding further. All right. But when you stop pushing, they will recoil because of the presence of the elastic connective tissue in their structure. It's like inflating a balloon. When you inflate the balloon, you're not inflating anymore. I'm not pushing air in the balloon anymore. So, and I release. So the balloon, what's going to happen? The balloon will recoil. So arteries will expand during ventricular contraction. They will recoil during ventricular relaxation. And this is what keeps the blood moving forward during ventricular relaxation. This is what creates my diastolic blood pressure. All right, questions? Is this clear? Yes. All right, so after that, elastic arteries will keep branching, will become muscular arteries. Muscular arteries, from their name, what do you think is going to have? Which layer is going to be so thick? Tunica intima, media, or external? If I'm called muscular, which layer has muscles in it? By tunica media. So here I have a thick tunica media, then I have much more loose muscles. And those arteries are going to be responsible to regulate the amount of blood that you are distributing to the organs. So let's say you are relaxing in your backyard, and all of a sudden an alligator came. All right, so what you're going to be doing? You're going to run, right? So at this point, you're going to be activating your sympathetic nervous system, and you're going to need to shift the blood to go to your skeletal muscles, to your heart, to your brain, and to be moving away from your gastrointestinal tract. I don't want to digest now. All right, I want the blood all to be diverted to my skeletal muscles, my heart. All right, so how would I be able to divert the blood now is by dilating and constricting those vessels. So muscular arteries who will be carrying the blood to my gastrointestinal tract will constrict. You're going to have more resistance. So the blood will find it much more difficult to reach your gastrointestinal tract. And you're going to dilate the vessels, go into your skeletal muscles. So the blood will find it more difficult to reach your gastrointestinal tract. It will be diverted towards your skeletal muscles. So again, what vessel here will regulate which organ should be supplied more than the other is going to be your muscular arteries. And again, why did I call them? What is the other name that we going to give to the muscular arteries that will have thick tunica media? Those are my distributing vessels. They will be distributing the blood. They have vasoconstriction ability. They are active in vasoconstriction. And this is what determines what organ should be receiving more blood compared to others. So if you are planning to study sometime soon, all right, so would you like to eat a large meal before you start studying? And to keep your hot energy, to keep yourself energetic, to fill your blood levels? Yes? No. All right? Because what's going to happen? All your blood is going to go from your brain to your stomach, and you're going to sleep. That's what it is. All right?
That's crazy.
All right, so again, who is distributing the blood? Your smallest arteries here. This is where I will have a major drop in the diameter of the vessel, applying lots of resistance. That's why I will call those arteries, my arterioles, my resistance vessels, because I have the tiniest diameter of all the other types of the arteries. Arterioles will conduct the blood to the capillary beds. This is where you're going to have the exchange taking place. Also, they will be regulating the amount of blood reaching this organ by performing constriction and dilation, like what we've seen with the muscular arteries. So they also have vasoconstrictive ability. If I want to affect my blood pressure, which one should I be regulating the diameter for? Elastic, muscular, or arterioles? Which one will have a major impact on my blood pressure? Which one has a major impact on my blood pressure?
Arteries.
The one that provides you the maximum resistance, which is your arterial arteries. Yes, the conducting arteries will keep the blood moving, but if I have hypertension, which one I should worry about, which one I should be relaxing to reduce the resistance? The one that is called my resistance vessels, my arterioles. This was the one that I would be concerned with, because it applies major resistance. And actually, what is blood pressure against? This is flow against resistance. Flow against resistance. Moving on to our next type of vessels, this would be my capillaries. And the capillaries will be classified according to two factors. According first, the structure. This is the structural classification of the capillaries. Capillaries will be either continuous capillaries, fenestrated capillaries, or sinusoidal capillaries. So again, according to the structure of the capillary, we're going to be classifying the capillaries into three major groups: continuous, fenestrated, or sinusoidal capillaries. Looking here, as the continuous capillaries. Continuous capillaries will be formed of one row of flat cells, as you see. The only paths for the fluids to travel from your capillary, from your blood, to the surrounding tissues is by passing between the cells. The only way for you to conduct oxygen, nutrients, fluids from your blood to the organs, passing through continuous capillaries, this will be through the intercellular clefts. And that's why the continuous capillaries will be the least permeable type of capillaries. This is the least permeable and it's the most common type in your body. So you're going to have it in your skin, in your brain, in your muscles. All those will be supplied by continuous capillaries. Compared to those ones, fenestrated capillaries. What can you see on here that makes a difference? That inside those cells, the endothelial cells lining my capillary, you're going to have those holes, those fenestrations. And those fenestrations will allow much more stuff to travel from your blood to your tissues. That's why we're going to call those capillaries, those are my fenestrated capillaries. Because I have those holes in my endothelial cells. Those again are my fenestrations. Where do you think I need a moderate permeability? More than the brain, skin, and muscles. Where do I need a higher level of permeability for me to have fenestrated capillaries?
Small intestine.
If, for example, I am trying to absorb nutrients, like in my small intestine, I'm trying to absorb nutrients, so I need more space to transport those nutrients through. So how would I be able to transport them? Through those fenestrations. So I need fenestrated capillaries to be located in my small intestine. What else? If I am producing hormones, and hormones have complex chemical structures. So they will be too big to travel between the cells. I need larger spaces for those hormones to be released from the cells into the bloodstream. Who will provide me with higher permeability than the continuous? It's going to be my fenestrated capillaries. So fenestrated capillaries will be the type of capillaries that will be located in your endocrine glands. Again, why? Because of the hormones to be released from the glandular cells into your blood, they need larger spaces to travel through. What else? Kidneys. To allow the filtration to take place. I have fenestrated endothelium, fenestrated endothelial lining in the glomeruli of the kidney to allow the filtration to take place. I need all the stuff to be filtered and then pick up what you need back. But I need lots of stuff to be filtered in the first place for me to release as much as I can of the toxins. So I need a much higher permeability in my kidney to allow this filtration to take place. So again, what are the three places where you're going to have fenestrated capillaries that will provide me with moderate permeability? This will be my small intestines to allow the absorption, in my endocrine glands to allow the release of hormones into the bloodstream, and the third one is going to be in my kidneys to allow the filtration, reabsorption, and secretion to take place in my kidneys. Another type that will provide you with the with the highest level of permeability. This will be the sinusoidal capillary. And the sinusoidal capillaries will have a much larger lumen. They have much larger spaces between the endothelial lining of the capillary. And they will have a much bigger fenestrations in the endothelial lining. So what do you think? Where do I need to have sinusoidal capillaries? If I told you that those large fenestrations of the endothelial lining will allow blood cells to move in and out of your bloodstream. Where do I need the blood cells to move in and out of my bloodstream? In my bone marrow, for example. Bone marrow. Why in the bone marrow? Because this is where you're going to be producing your blood cells. So in my bone marrow, once you form the blood cells, they need to travel from the tissue to your bloodstream. So I need a type of capillaries that will allow the movement and the passage of blood cells exchange of blood cells between the tissue and the bloodstream. Also my spleen. Why? Because also my spleen is a site where I will be activating my immune cells. This is a lymphoid organ where I will be activating the immune cells, my lymphocytes, as we're going to learn later on with the immunity chapter. Alright, so you're going to need to allow cells to move in and out between your bone marrow, your bloodstream. You need to allow the cells to move in and out in your spleen, also in your liver. Why is the liver? Liver will be dealing with everything that you did absorb, everything that comes that could be complex structure, like for example fats. Fats, in order for them to be transported through your body fluids, they need to travel in very complex structures. So they don't travel on their own. You need first to build triglycerides. Those triglycerides will need to bind to proteins, and those proteins will need to bind to other triglycerides, so on, for them to be soluble. Because normally, if I try to imagine that you have butter that you didn't eat, is circulating with your blood flow. What's going to happen? It's going to stick, right? So you need to modify this butter that you did just eat into a more soluble form for it to be able to travel through your circulation. So in order to make this fat much more soluble, I will end up having very complex structures. So I need to move all those structures, those huge structures, back and forth between the blood and the liver cells. Also, I'm producing proteins. All the plasma proteins that you have that will be responsible for the blood clot formation, those coagulation factors, your immunity, all those plasma proteins that you're going to have are produced from your liver. So in order to produce and release all those large chemical compounds from the liver to the bloodstream, I need much larger spaces here that will be provided by what kind of capillaries? Sinusoidal. So again, according to the structure, we do have how many types of capillaries? 3. The least permeable type, this is my continuous capillary. And where do I need just the fluids, solids, nutrients to pass from the bloodstream to the organ in my brain, muscles, and skin? I need a higher level of permeability, moderate permeability in my intestine, endocrine glands, and my kidney. Kidney for filtration, small intestine to absorb the nutrients, and in my endocrine glands to release the hormones. So I will need a type of capillaries that will provide me with moderate permeability. This will be my fenestrated capillaries. the highest level of permeability will be provided by sinusoidal capillaries. This is what allows me to even move cells. Not only chemical compounds. I can move cells, create the tissue and the vessels. And again, where do you need to perform an exchange of cells, to move cells in and out of your bloodstream? Lymphoid organs, like the spleen, for example, your bone marrow, and finally going to be your liver to allow those huge and complex chemical compounds to move in and out. All right? Questions? According to function, we're going to have another classification. Shunts. There are just direct connections between the artery and a vein. See, the blood travels through the organ without performing exchange. So you see on here. So if I did have hemorrhage, so I've got in a car accident, I've lost blood, what's going to happen to my skin? Will it become hot or cold? It's going to be cold. Why? Because you're going to be diverting the blood from your skin to your vital organs for my heart and brain. As we've mentioned, my vascular arteries will play a role here, but also on the capillary level, I will have a major role in diverting the blood from one capillary bed to another capillary bed, from one organ to the other. So if we're looking on here, I don't want to get the blood to my skin. It's going to be much better to live with ulcers on my skin rather than to die with beautiful skin. All right, so what's going to happen in here? You're gonna be diverting the blood. So blood has to go to the skin. This is unavoidable. So it needs to pass through the capillary bed, but I don't want to give this oxygen to my skin. I want the blood to reach my vital organs. I want larger amounts of oxygen to reach my vital organs because of the hemorrhage that did take place. So what's going to happen? You're going to be just connecting, allowing the blood to pass through the tissue without performing exchange. Just shunting the blood. This is called, again, my vascular shunt, or another word that we can use it is my metarterioles. Metarterioles are just vascular shunts. You are directly connecting the artery to the vein without actual exchange with the tissue cells. The other type of capillaries that you're going to have in the capillary beds, those are the true capillaries. Those are the ones that will be performing the exchange. And those are actually branches from your metarteriole, from your vascular shunt. At the base of the true capillaries, you're going to have sphincters. Those are my pre-capillary sphincters. The sphincters, the muscles that will be guarding the base of the capillary. So if I want to perform exchange with this organ, what I need to do, you need to relax the sphincter. And when you relax the sphincters, the pre-capillary sphincters, the blood is going to be moving into your true capillaries. This is where you're going to be performing the exchange. But what if I don't want to perform exchange with this tissue? I want just the blood to pass from the artery to the vein of this tissue without performing much of exchange. For me to create a high resistance here to divert the blood to go to another organ, I need to do what to the sphincters? Here, my pre-capillary sphincters, I need to contract the pre-capillary sphincters. So the blood is gonna be moving all the way through this shunt, and this creates a much higher resistance. So less blood is gonna be traveling through the skin, and more blood is gonna be diverted to my brain. Alright, so if you have, for example, one exit of the 95 that you want to take, but it's blocked, so what's going to happen? All the cars going to be diverted to the next exit. Same in here. So you're going to be blocking this exit here. Less blood will be able to reach this tissue, and you are creating congestion. So most of the blood will be diverted away from this organ. All right. So again, what are the two types of capillary according to the function? You have just shunts. Are you performing any exchange with the vascular shunts, meta-arterioles?
No.
No. And the other one is going to be my true capillaries. Do you perform any exchange with the tissue cells?
Yes.
Passing through the true capillaries. True capillaries, you are performing exchange. And where are the true capillaries are coming from? They are branches from your meta-arterioles, and you're guarding your true capillaries by pre-capillary sphincters. So let's check here this question. Did I miss any question?
When is blood
How do we move more blood to the skeletal muscle when needed to exercise? So we open precapillary sphincters to the skeletal muscles, we close the precapillary sphincters to less important tissues, both A and B, none of the other. So if you want the blood to be directed towards your skeletal muscles, what do you think you will need to do? You need to open precapillary sphincters going to the skeletal muscles or close them?
Open.
If you want the blood to go to your skeletal muscles, you're going to need to perform more exchange. You need to reduce the resistance against the blood flowing to your skeletal muscles. So you're going to need to open precapillary sphincters in your skeletal muscle. And less important organs like your gastrointestinal tract. If you are exercising, you want the blood to go to your gastrointestinal tract, so you're going to need to
Close.
close.
So it's C.
Your precapillary sphincters of less important organs at this point. Alright, so the good answer here will be
It's C.
There's one more question. Yeah. Where is blood pressure highest?
yeah. I know. I was trying to reach this question. And then scales of blood pressure. Is today the
No, today's at 40.
So we're in good shape. Alright, so that's it for today. Next time we're gonna keep going with the vascular system, and we're gonna start doing that. I did mark all of you first. So no signage. No signage.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Have a good day. Good weekend. All that stuff.